Welcome back to Rewitched, a charmed 1998 rewatch journey. I'm your host, Jess Sabanko, and I can't wait to share my thoughts on one of my favorite shows with you. I'll be keeping these recaps spoiler-free and welcome fans, new and old, to join me on my journey here and on social media at Rewitched_pod on Instagram and TikTok. Currently, I'm on season 7. All right, so this week we're talking about season 7, episode 16, The 7-Year Witch. Now, I'll say right here at the top, this is one of my favorite episodes of the season. I really love the focus on love in this episode, the way it's played out, the return of Cole, of course. And I know that I've always kind of commented on the series in the fact that so much of our storylines are centered on the sisters' relationships. Sometimes I have a very positive view of that. Sometimes I have a less optimistic view on that. In this episode, I actually really like the message. And I do think that, these deep loves that they feel are important to their characters, are important to their lives, especially to Piper's. And it makes sense that it's just as much a part of their storyline for their magical abilities and what kind of sacrifices they have to make for the greater good. And I think that that message in this episode is really strong when it comes to Leo's character. In terms of our innocents and villains of the week, I'm gonna say the elders are our antagonists. I do think that Odin has some villainous moves he makes in this episode, but he's not necessarily a bad person. And then we do have, of course, our innocents are Piper and Leo. In terms of individual storylines, most of what's going on in this episode is very interconnected, but I'd say that our main focus would be Piper, Leo, and then the other sisters and Drake kind of trying to work out what's going on with the two of them. But the first thing I'll say, starting with Piper and Leo, so early in this episode, we do find out that Leo has finally been called by the elders to find out what his punishment is. So he goes to see them. Piper's very worried. It's kind of a switch up from last episode where he was really worried and she's like, look, we'll figure everything out. Now she's kind of like, oh my God, the boys aren't even here. What if you don't get to say goodbye? And he's like, hey, nothing's gonna happen. It'll be fine. He does go to the bridge where he meets with Odin and Sandra, and it's very quickly revealed that while they understand what kind of drove him to join the Avatars based on what happened with Gideon, he did also betray them. And for that reason, he needs to make a choice because he's being torn between two lives, his life with Piper and his children and his life with the elders. So they're gonna send him on this mission, I guess, where they erase his memory, drop him in some random location, and if his love for Piper is really so strong that he naturally finds his way back to her, then he'll be mortal, live out his life with her and the family. And if he is called to the elders instead, then that means that he'll be with them and he'll never see them again. And Leo's like, what the fuck? No, absolutely not. I'll fall from grace, all this stuff. And they're like, no, you will do what you're supposed to do. That's not an option. You're going right now. You don't get to say goodbye, whatever. And they do send him to the middle of Texas, where he immediately is standing in a highway. He causes this man to crash his car, but then saves his life, fixing his broken shoulder and tourniqueting his leg, doing all this stuff. They talk about how professional it is when he's at the sheriff's office talking about his lost memory. And he is having these little bits of flashbacks at times. He has one to his World War II days in that scene where he is saving the driver's life. We also see that he has another flashback when he's at the sheriff's office and he's scared by someone entering the room of him using his electricity powers. We also see him then going to a diner where he's having a conversation with the waitress, and they notice the tan line on his wedding ring finger, and she's like, oh, you probably cheated on her and she hit you with a pan, which is hilarious, low-key, but also I obviously don't support domestic violence. And so he's then like, no, she didn't dump me. That's definitely not what happened. He just knows in his heart, but obviously doesn't know what Piper is. We're seeing then this couple in the booth that he's focused on as well as on the TV before he finally goes outside and sees a truck with a Golden Gate produce symbol headed to San Francisco. He asks the driver, who is Odin, shady little bitch, I'll come back to you, if he's headed that way and if he can give him a ride. They do take off together, and Odin is very much bringing up the idea of him helping people, how maybe it's a calling for him, talks about how eventually he's going to be heading north and that Leo can come with him to other people who think like them, who want to help. Leo, I think, kind of thinks he's kind of like this man of the cloth, he says, so some type of religious helpful entity. And ultimately Leo does decide that he does want to go that way, because Odin's kind of like, yeah, you know, you could like be with us and help people, it could be your destiny, all this stuff. Or like if you feel like something else is calling you, like you can do that too, it's your choice. Come on, you are really, really leading him. Like, you are not letting him decide for himself. You are interfering so much, which the sisters later call him out for, rightfully so, because as they're about to leave, Phoebe and Paige do show up, and they're like, Leo, like, you have to come back with us for Piper, and he's confused, and Odin's like, he made his choice and orbs them out, but then of course they do go to Golden Gate Bridge later. Phoebe's calling for the elders. She's like, hey, like, this isn't what it was supposed to be, this wasn't fair, you cheated on the test, all this stuff, and he's like, well, some things are too important to be left up to chance. What happened to the elders believing in free will? Shady, shady, shady. And I do like Leo's decision here, because we do see that the love between him and Piper is so strong that it brings him out of this. Once he has the memory, because Piper is calling to him, he knows and he falls from grace. He lets himself fall from the bridge, becoming human just before he hits the ground, cutting up his face, all of this stuff. And, you know, Odin's kind of like, okay, like, you made your choice, you're human now. And like pissed, because he's kind of like, this has never happened before, when Leo had threatened it. But him actually choosing his family in this scene, I love it for his character. It's what I've always wanted him to do, is put Piper and the boys first. So I love that he's finally truly made that decision, realized that he wasn't maybe meant to be an elder. I don't think that he was, if this life with Piper is what he wants. And he's never been able to fully commit to being an elder. So I think that being with his family makes more sense for him. And we do get that really nice scene with him and Piper at the end, where he's looking out the window and he's like, I can't believe I'm mortal. And she's kind of like, is that a bad thing? And he's like, no, like, it's great. This is what I've wanted since I met you. I am gonna call that out though as a plot hole, because Leo, you were a human back in season 2 and you fucking hated it and gave it up really quickly in order to get back involved in magic stuff. So I do definitely wonder if this is a permanent decision, but they do seem very happy, at least at the end, with this opportunity to have a semi-normal life together. So I am excited to see what comes next for the two of them. Going back to Piper. So early on in the episode, Paige and Piper are looking for an innocent, and these demons show up with like thorns spitting, and one of them hits Piper in the hand. We later find out that the thorns have a slow-acting poison. So as the sisters are searching for Leo, Paige is looking at magic school, Phoebe and Drake are looking in the Book of Shadows and scrying, and Piper is calling Daryl to kind of try to figure out the human way to find them, totally freaking out. She's like, I don't care, just like find my husband, because he's like, I can't use fingerprints, they're from World War II, like the age doesn't match, like we're just gonna send the picture, like I'm gonna keep working on it, but like that's the best I can do. And she's, you know, obviously very upset, and then passes out at the stairs. Her spirit comes out of her body and she's like, oh no, like, am I dead again? And this is after a conversation with the sisters that I want to read from, where prior to Piper getting knocked out of her body and having her interactions with Cole, there is this discussion of love that I definitely want to look at. So when Sandra arrives to tell them what's happened with Leo, Piper is obviously very upset. She's like, you don't have the right to wipe out someone's mind, an entire life, my life. And she's like, Leo's not just someone, Piper. He was an elder by his own choice. She's like, he was also a husband and a father by choice, and he would never abandon his family, which I think is obviously a very sore spot for Piper, considering her own past with her own father, and the way that Leo has never fully been able to give them up. There was very much that feeling of abandonment at the end of season 5, beginning of season 6, but there's been a lot of progress in their relationship since then, and I definitely see Piper fighting for them here. She's like, I'm sorry, you just lobotomized the love of my life and you want me to take comfort in what? Because she's kind of like, look, we didn't kill him, him or recycle him, like, be happy about that. There is this idea where Sandra's like, hey, don't give up hope. But then Phoebe kind of gets deflated very quickly, and so does Piper. And she's like, maybe we're not meant to find love. How many Hallowell women have actually been able to hold on to their men? We're destined to be spinsters, all for the greater good. And Paige at first disagrees, but then agrees. And Drake's like, love is everything. It's why we're here. It's why I'm here. Come on, you're young, you're hot, you've got magic powers, your whole life's ahead of you. Love never dies. You might as well die too if you're going to give up on it. Piper and Leo's love, it's epic, it's massive. All we have to do is find Leo and like it'll come back together. So I do like these kind of like things that start here and then obviously continue in Piper's conversations with Cole, because when she is knocked out, she sees that his spirit is there hanging out at the house. I really like this inclusion of him in this episode. I think it's really fun and it's really interesting that his punishment for all the evil he's done in life is that he's destined to just kind of live in this in-between, not able to be fully alive or dead for eternity. And Piper's like, what the hell am I doing here? And he's like, look, like, I'm stuck here forever, but you still have a chance to go back to your life. And talking about how he wants to help her and Leo. And Piper's like, what do you get out of this? Because obviously she's very suspicious of Cole. They both bring up multiple times how well they know each other, how they have all this history, obviously. And ultimately Cole admits that the reason he's doing this is because he doesn't want to see Phoebe give up on love, and that Piper and Leo's love inspires her and proves to her that love can happen for her too. And that's part of why he has to help her, which I actually really like. And I like the interactions between them. When he calls Piper out for being stubborn, the way that they kind of like go back and forth with each other, and it's clear that they're not close. They don't necessarily like each other, but they ultimately do have that love for Phoebe that obviously is always going to bond them. And the way that Cole talks about, you know, loving Phoebe, how she loved him too, and that he wants more for her. He doesn't want what happened between them to take love away from the rest of her life, which is something that Cole has said before, even back in season 5. Yes, he always wanted it to be him and Phoebe, but ultimately, if it couldn't, he's always wanted her to be happy. And I've always admired about his character. It's something that makes me believe he truly loves her, because I think often we can question, like, is it love or is it obsession? And I think because Cole is so torn between good and evil, it is a bit of both. But moments like this show me that there is genuine love there from him. And I do like that. And I do like the way that we find out that he's the one who brought Drake into Phoebe's life, and the way that she did learn to love again, and the way that they thank each other for the experience they gave each other, even though it only lasted 3 weeks. I do think that it's a little repetitive, because I feel like Phoebe started to open herself back up again at the beginning of the season, only to then be closed off and then have to go through this with Drake. I do like the Drake storyline a lot better than the Leslie storyline, even though it is much shorter. This hopefully is a more permanent change for Phoebe, and we will see some continuance with what she experienced here with Drake going on. I hope that she won't let this loss affect her and close her off once more. In the final scene between Cole and Drake, I do really like the way that they talk about like him thanking him for setting him up with the sorcerer, and Cole thanking him for helping Phoebe. And he's like, well, I didn't just save her, I fell in love with her. And Cole's like, understandably. And so the way that, like, again, he wants Phoebe to be happy more than anything else. And I did see parallels between him and Cole, obviously, with the whole former demon thing. And the way that that passion for life attracts Phoebe, that intensity. Drake was someone she could also share her magical life with, which is maybe something all the sisters do ultimately need. Someone that truly understands and can accept that magical part of them, whether they have powers or not. So I am also interested in that in continuing storylines. In terms of getting back to Piper, so we do see obviously that when she is in this state with Cole, he is telling her that what she has to do in order to get Leo back is to die. That if she gives up, he'll be able to sense it and he'll come back to her. That's the only way for her to be saved. And she's like, my kids, like, I can't do that. What the fuck? He's like, well, if you don't do it, you lose Leo forever. Like, those are your options here. You have to trust me. And ultimately, Piper does it, which is interesting, especially after we see the way that Drake is talking as they're back, they're with her body. Phoebe's kind of like, oh my God, like, do we call the elders? Like, what do we do? And Drake is like, look, even if they heal her, that's only going to heal her body. Her soul is not going to be healed unless she's back with Leo, which is what then gives Phoebe the idea to call for Leo on the bridge, which they end up doing. We also see Piper then go back into her body. She's on the verge of death. She's calling for Leo. And when they arrive back with Leo, who obviously is mortal now, can't heal her, we see that Wyatt has healed her. And they're like, wait, like, how did we know he could do this? And Drake's like, well, Leo wrote about it in the book, finding that letter to his sons that he wrote in the last episode in the Book of Shadows, and this next generation of White Lighters, and then a nice family hug between Wyatt, Piper, and Leo at the end there. That's really sweet to kind of wrap this up. This episode for me really does confirm Piper and Leo as soulmates, and I like the way that they choose and fight for each other in this episode. I think it's a really beautiful storyline. It made me cry, honestly, multiple times in this episode. I think part of that is a little bit of what I'm going through personally right now, but I just thought this was such a beautiful story, such a beautiful episode, and it does make me really excited for, yes, we've wrapped up some storylines here, but what is coming next for the rest of the season? I have a feeling we're not done with Zanku, we're not done with him trying to rise up in the underworld, and now we've just lost one of the most powerful members of the family, as well as a helpful demon. So definitely some stuff to look forward to going forward. But yeah, that is all I have for this one, and I hope you'll join me back next time.